Hello, I'm Jack Cody. In this training video today we're going to be working with the 4700 sanitary flow tube, similar to the one I have in front of me, and also it's going to be intricately mounted to the 47 transmitter. In between that is going to be a connector board similar to this that comes with the transmitter, and we'll show you how to properly mount this, wire it, and set it up with the sensor prom. Now the first thing you want to do is remove the connector board from its protective bag, and you notice there are a couple of shrouds here. There's one on the top. Can't be removed until you actually remove the one on the bottom. So once you take that out, it just snaps out. It exposes the pins that are holding the shroud on the top. So just depress those in, that one comes off, really nice. Now it exposes all the terminals, so we can start wiring this thing up. You notice on the back there is a large terminal that is used for the sensor prom. If you're looking in at the flow tube here, you notice the sensor prom in the back over here that has some pretty sturdy pins. Those pins will be inserted into the slot on the back of the connector board. What we're going to want to do is remove the coil terminal here and the signal terminal here, and you notice that there are numbers that are embossed on these terminals. On the signal, you'll notice there is a 82, a 0, and an 83, and on the coil it's 86 and 85. Those numbers will correspond to numbers that are on the connector board. So the coil will be placed here, 85 and 86, and on this side the signal connector will come up and get placed in here between 82, 0, and 83. Okay, now that I've added the coil terminal to the connector board and the signal connector to the board, now would be a good time to replace the shroud in the back of the connector board. So just flip it over a little bit and line this up, and it just snaps right back on there. Now at this point you will notice that the terminal for the connector for the sensor prom needs to be placed directly over the sensor prom in the transmitter, and simply push the connector assembly down straight on top of it, and when I come back it'll be done. Now that the connector board has been placed in the housing of the flow tube, seated correctly on top of the sensor prom, now's the time to secure the board with 2 screws, one here and one there. So this secures the connector board down in the housing so it doesn't move. And at the same time there is a shield ground that needs to be tied into the mounting plate in the flow tube. So when we come back, we will place the transmitter on top of this assembly. Alright, to continue, I've now added the shield ground to the mounting plate on the bottom. I've also added my 120/60 cycle wiring in this area here. So now is a good time to put the shroud back in place. So we can snap that in here, and just like that, to protect the transmitter from the wiring. Okay, so this is all wired up now, waiting for the transmitter. The transmitter itself, okay, the 4700, okay, let me get a little wider angle here, you'll find that on the bottom there are a series of terminals here and here. Now these go straight down onto the connector board. You notice that it corresponds to this area here and here. So when you add your transmitter, make sure you go down straight, and that way you won't prevent any of these pins from bending. You notice that there's some very fine pins here. As soon as we come into focus, I'll show you those. Okay, so they're very fine. So be careful when you put this transmitter down on top of that connector board. That way everything will come up in green when we plug it in. Okay, now that the transmitter has been placed on top of the flow tube, it's time to power it up. See what we get. Transmitter is powered up and it's going into the boot. Doesn't take long, and as you can see, we're already up and running. So in the next segment, we're going to talk about, well, the customer decided he didn't want an intricately mounted transmitter. He wanted it mounted remotely. So all this work that we just did, we're just going to take it apart and set it up as a remote mount system. So for more information on the 4700S intricately mounted to the 47, you want to refer to MI 21-323, and at the same time it does ship in the box with the flow tube is your calibration certificate for the flow tube itself. All this information is contained in the sensor prom, and all of that information gets uploaded into the transmitter. So if the sensor prom should fail at any time, there is a serial number and a model code on the sensor prom. Just pull it out, give us a call at the Foxboro company or TAC, and we can certainly order you a replacement. This concludes the training video for the 4700S intricately mounted to the 47 transmitter. Thanks for listening. Alright, we're almost done here. Commissioning the 4700 transmitter is relatively pretty simple. Most of the information has already been uploaded into the transmitter itself, and this is done via the sensor prom that we were playing with earlier today. Now if you want to customize this just a little bit more for whatever reason, changing the upper range value or the units, it can easily be done. So you want to press the upper left hand button, this one here, hold it in for 2 seconds. It's going to come back and ask you for a password. Now that password is 1000. That's a default for this transmitter. Press the button directly below that 2 times and it will read 1000. Press the lock unlock 1 time and it goes into setup mode, and then quickly changes to basic settings. Now as you can see, there's an arrow on the right hand side indicating there are more parameters below this this setting. So press the lock unlock once and it comes up with your mains. If you keep on going through, you hit the black page with the white arrow, continue through. Its flow direction is positive. Qmax is set to 40. Now in this case here, Qmax stands for your upper range value for these particular transmitters. If you continue through, there is other parameters in here called totalizer. You can set that up for whatever units you want. Low flow cut-in, empty pipe detection, error level warning, and then we come back to the mains frequency again. So we go back one more time or two more times. We'll go back to the Qmax. Say for instance you have a, I don't know, a receiving device, PLC or whatever, that needs to be ranged to I don't know, 30 gallons per minute opposed to 40. So simply press the lock unlock once, and you see the lock unlock, and the cursor appears underneath the 0 on the left hand side. Simply press the button in the middle at the bottom until you get to the 4. Let's see here, this would be the this button here. Keep on going till you get to the 3. Okay, 30 gallons per minute. Continue through, pressing. If you want to change your units from US gallons to something else, you can do that right now. If not, just leave it alone and press the lock unlock one time. Now to get back to the top level measure, well, in this case top level, press this arrow here one time and it brings you back to basic settings. To continue through into other parameters, just hit this the white arrow with the black page. You get to outputs, external inputs, sensor prom characteristics. This is where all the information from that sensor prom resides in this area. So if we go down into these additional pages, you will find that it's already your cal factor has already been entered, flow meter size and things of that nature. You'll also notice there's something in here that if you go in there, it'll also say your sensor prom is installed. If for some particular reason a flag appears in this area during normal operations, it'd be like a square with a line going through it. That's an indication that something is wrong. Okay, that's in order to find out what that is, you would continue. Well, we can get out of here. Oops, went too far out. So if you go too far out, hold this in for 2 more seconds. Password again 1000, lock, unlock. Takes you back in again. Press the black page button until you get back to sensor characteristics, reset mode. This is a nice parameter here because should something go wrong with your configuration, you don't know what you did, but something's not right, you can't get out of it, you can reset everything back to factory defaults right here. Continuing on, service mode. This is a nice one here. I believe down in the towards the bottom of these parameters you'll find an area that will identify any errors that have occurred. So they will show up as, you know, like a P40 or a P70. Refer to your manual to translate those error codes into real English, and it'll tell you how to solve that problem. Continuing through, there's an operator menu in here. There's a product ID. This is your model codes and serial numbers and stuff like that. You can change the password if you like. I wouldn't recommend it because I'm not sure whether there is a back door to recover a password should you forget it, so be cautious about that. Continue again. You can change the language if you like. Back to basic settings. Now should you leave this in this position for more than I think 10 minutes maybe, it's going to knock you back out to the main screen. So we won't leave it like this. We'll just hit the up button one more time, and that just takes you back out to where we started. So that concludes the commissioning of the 4700. There is also in the manual MI 021-322 the installation of the flow tube, which can be very useful. There's also a service guide in there that shows you all of the parameters within this transmitter, and they are extensive. So with that, this concludes this training video. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I did, and have a great day.